Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So this is part two of what guru investors bought in the second quarter of 2021. On Friday, I put out part one with the super investors I track that had put out 13Fs on Friday. The rest of the 13Fs are in, as you can see here. If you look at Dataroma, just a flurry of 13Fs that came in today. So I was able to look at the rest of those investors on the list, and I'm going to talk through that today. Now, so this is the spreadsheet. This tells you what super investors that I track have bought or added to in the second quarter of 2021, how big the position is in their portfolio that perhaps gives us a sense of conviction with the idea. The quarter two low. So this is the lowest price that these super investors could have bought in to these companies in the second quarter, which I think is a useful sort of anchor point to try to figure out, may it still be a good value today? Obviously just one data point, but meaningful in my opinion. And then we have a column with the delta, the difference between the price today on August 16th and that low of the second quarter. Market cap, just to give us a sense of how big or how small are these companies. You see there's a couple small caps in here, which is a little bit surprising and also a little bit exciting. The idea there is if we can get in at companies when they're smaller, there's potentially more of a runway, right? There's more room for growth. VIC, Value Investors Club, is there a write-up on Value Investors Club? And if so, when is it from? And I'm going to share some targets and some notes based on those Value Investors Club write-ups. And then historical CAGR, this is the compound annual growth rate over the period that, the longest period tracked by ticker terminal, which is usually 15 or 16 years. And this gives us a sense, is this a high quality business? Has it grown investor capital at a high rate over many years? So that can be a useful data point as well, in my opinion. So let's jump right into who made high conviction bets in the second quarter. So this one, I almost didn't find, okay? First, I went through Dataroma, right? I went through all the 13F data. And then I decided, well, what if I look up each fund in ticker terminal so I can see investments that aren't on the 13Fs, okay? These are usually foreign holdings. In this first one, they're preferred shares, okay, that don't show up on the 13F filings. So Howard Marks, Oak Tree Capital. Of course, Howard Marks is legendary as a value investor. What showed up in Oak Tree was Garrett Motion preferred stock. Okay, and we can take a look at that if we go into ticker, track investing gurus. And if you guys aren't in ticker, hit me up. I've got a link for you to get in here. It's free at the moment. As of now, they may start charging in the future. Oak Tree Capital Management. So right up here, Garrett Motion. You can see it's the largest holding, almost 9% of Oak Tree's equity portfolio. And they have nearly 28% of the shares outstanding, all right, these preferred shares for Garrett Motion. And again, this was not through a 13F. It was from a registration statement. So interestingly enough, I bought Garrett Motion as part of my Magic Formula portfolio, where I buy 5 Magic Formula stocks each quarter. Bought that about a year ago. It's been a very interesting, tumultuous story at Garrett Motion. They filed for bankruptcy. There were a number of super investors that piled in, including Howard Marks of Oak Tree Capital. And now it looks like they have some preferred stock for Garrett Motion. So again, I just found out about this, haven't done any digging on it, but that could be worth looking into. Like I said, very low market cap, under 500 million for Garrett Motion. The next one, Prem Watsa of Fairfax Financial. Again, this was one that didn't show up in 13F filings. There wasn't really anything interesting in the 13F filings this quarter for Fairfax. But, when you pull up Fairfax on ticker, you can see Eurobank Ergasia Services and Holdings SA, okay? And this is far and away the biggest position in Fairfax Financial Holdings Limited Investments, okay? $2.3 billion position, 36% of the portfolio. You see they more than doubled their shares in, looks like just a few days ago, right? It's the 16th of August. This was filed on the 12th of August. So very fresh information there. And they appear to own 65% of the equity in this company. So just out of curiosity, we can click on that ticker there. We've got a bank providing retail, corporate, private banking, asset management, treasury, capital markets. And this is a company based in Greece, okay? So if you're looking for something exciting, potentially very volatile to dig into, and you can see the stock chart here, it's effectively down 100% over the last decade and a half, okay? I mean, the share price was up at 25,000 euros, and now it's, let me move this, 25,000 euros to less than a euro. So could be an interesting opportunity to dive into there from Prem Watsa. The next one, Michael Burry. So Michael Burry has not disappointed us over the last year or so with 13Fs. There's always a flurry of activity. Difficult to clone, but great if you're looking for more short-term opportunities potentially. So the first one, Discovery Communications, okay, down slightly from the second quarter low. This is his number one largest holding. 18 billion market cap. There's a write-up from just over a year ago in Value Investors Club. In that write-up, the target price, right, it was around $19 per share in June 2020. Target price was $30 per share. Okay, that's what this investor thought the company was worth. So, we're close to that. Presumably, well, I'm not going to speculate about what Michael Burry sees in this company. We are down slightly from where he added a big stake in Discovery Communications. Next one, OVV. Okay, I don't have any idea what OVV is. It's there's no write-up in Value Investors Club. 6 billion market cap. It's up 7% from the second quarter low. Second largest holding. Okay. This one's kind of interesting. The Geo Group. Okay, what is the Geo Group? The Geo Group owns private prisons. It's a REIT for private prisons. Okay, so that's pretty niche. It dropped quite a bit in the second quarter. Okay, you can really see on the chart there's a dip in the second quarter where it got down to nearly $5 per share. Currently, it's up around $8.50. Okay. So a 40% increase from the second quarter low, around $1 billion market cap. So we have a small cap here. In VIC, there's only one write-up, and it's a short thesis from January of 2021. And the essence of this short thesis is with Biden in office, there's not going to be government funding for these private prisons. Okay, that was sort of the crux of the short thesis. Maybe it played out. I mean, again, this write-up was from January 2021, pulled back quite a bit, but currently it's around the same price it was when this VIC write-up was done in January 2021. This isn't a company I would touch with a 10-foot pole. The VIC write-up effectively thinks that the equity is worthless. There's no value in the equity because of the scenario that they laid out there. So check that out if you're interested in having a partial ownership stake in prisons. Okay, Very exciting stuff. Number 4 for Michael Burry, CVS, his 4th largest holding. This one was an add. Okay, the first 3 were buys, new buys, not really new buys. See, let's take a look at what's happening with Burry. It's really a lot to wrap one's head around. Michael Burry. So I showed this trick in the video yesterday, but what we can do is we can go to history and see if these new buys are actually new buys. Okay, so let's look at DISC, because there's a couple different share classes. That's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to search Command F for DISC. Okay, so we go down, we can see where DISC K shows up. This is the first time he's buying Discovery K shares, but you can see just 2 quarters ago he owned Discovery A shares. You can see he sold off a lot in the 4th quarter, owned quite a bit in Q3 and Q2 of last year. I mean, this one here, 11.6% of the portfolio. Now keep in mind, his portfolio values go up and down quite a bit because he sloshes back and forth between owning equity and doing a lot in the options realm. So just another thing to track with Michael Burry. But you can see how his positions in Discovery have changed over time. Also, I wanted to look at Geo, because this isn't... He owned Geo a couple quarters ago, Q4 2020. Looks like he got completely out, and now he's going back in pretty heavy. So that's just what you're going to get with Michael Burry. And again, CVS has a target in, it's a very recent write-up, April of 2021. Target of $100 to $120 per share. Right now it's at 85, which is 14% higher than the Q2 low. So there's a little room to run up. Nothing that's compelling to me, but if this investor with the thesis in VIC is correct, there's still potentially a margin of safety there with CVS. Next, we have David Einhorn. So this was really interesting. Tech resources, okay? And so I saw this and I was thinking, oh, that name looks familiar. And I realized Monish Pabrai bought Tech Kamenko, okay? This is the same company, right? It was called Tech Kamenko back in 2009, I believe, when Monish Pabrai bought in. And now it's just Tech Resources, okay? Same company. Monish Pabrai made his best returns on this company in Pabrai funds up through 2011. Okay, so this was a big home run for Monish Pabrai. He made like 8 or 9 times his money in Tech Kamenko. It's a miner in Canada. You can see here Einhorn perhaps bought just under 20. It's $22.28 per share now, so a 13% increase from the Q2 low. It's his 4th largest holding. Very cyclical. Okay, if you look at a price chart for Tech Kamenko, it's very cyclical. Not one of these long-term compounders that the Pabrai is looking for these days. Next on the list, we have Sequoia Fund, and I'm just going to go through the 2 that are from Sequoia Fund. We've got Anthem, which is in healthcare, at number 5, 5th largest position. And then we've got Micron, both adds, okay, both additions. I think Micron was like a 53% increase in the 2nd quarter for Sequoia Fund. And the price today is 8% lower than the low in the 2nd quarter. Like I've said in recent videos, I'm definitely going to be digging into Micron this week. Let's just take a look at I want to show you guys what Micron looks like in Dataroma in terms of who owns it, because it is really a who's who. There's 11 super investors who own Micron. Li Lu, it's his largest holding, at least in the U.S. Monish Pabrai, it's his largest holding in the U.S. It's his largest holding overall, as far as I can tell, out of the 10 or so companies that Monish Pabrai owns. David Tepper, it's his largest position. He did cut back a little bit on it in the second quarter, but he really cut back on everything, at least his bigger bets. David Tepper did. Guy Spear bought into it, I think, in the first quarter of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Seth Klarman added 32% to the position in Q2. Sequoia just bought into it. So big names here, guys. Incredible value investors in Micron. So I'm definitely going to be digging in this week. I'm going to make a video about it, and I'm going to consider adding to my own position. I haven't bought since 2019 when I first got in. It may be time to add more for me. So that's from Sequoia Fund. And then lastly, Chris Hohn, okay, the Children's International Fund. CNI is what he added. That's Canadian National Railway, okay, a railroad. Chris Hohn added as his 6th largest holding. It's up 4% since the Q2 low. Write-up pretty recently, 8 months ago in December of 2020. Now, in that write-up, that investor thinks it's a 4x in 12 years, okay? So doubling every 6 years, 13% or 12% expected growth rate in terms of price appreciation in Canadian National Railway. So that's funny. I always chuckle when I see value investors buying railroads. It's so non-tech, but you know, you can't laugh too much at a 12, 13% compounded growth rate over a long period of time. And 13% is what CNI has done over the last 16 years. Okay, so it's been a solid performer. So that's Chris Hohn. Anything else? Yeah, I want to get into, so these are the investors that didn't really show anything. Cedar Rock Capital, Bill Ackman, David Tepper, Greg Alexander, Jeffrey Ubben, Warren Buffett. Of course, we were all curious if Warren Buffett and Berkshire were going to be buying Alibaba in the second quarter. Did not. There's speculation. It's possible they could have bought through the Hong Kong exchange and not have to disclose that. We wouldn't know about that. But again, that's all speculation at this point. The last thing I want to do, I want to look at Michael Burry's actual 13F filing, okay? Because like I said, it's not just equity. It's not just stocks that Michael Burry buys directly. He also does a lot with call and put options, and I'm sure a whole host of other things. But a few things I noticed. Google calls, okay? That indicates to me he's bullish on Google. So didn't buy equity, but bought calls, put options on ARK ETF, the innovation fund for ARK. He's shorting ARK, okay? Again, so, you know, there's going to be a lot of YouTube content out about Michael Burry versus Cathie Wood. It's going to be very sensational. But that's where that's coming from. These put options on ARK. Cardinal Health, okay, call options. That's interesting. We saw Anthem in the equity portfolio. We've got call options on Cardinal Health. CVS Corp. So this is the only company, I believe, where Burry owns both call options and the common, okay, the common equity. So maybe that's a stronger bullish signal for CVS. in his portfolio than some of these others, even though CVS is in the 4th spot. Again, just speculation. Do your own homework on that. Facebook call options, iShares 20-year bond ETF put options. Looks like he's got some kind of a spread going on because he's got iShares Pro Shares calls and iShares puts. Okay, so I don't know anything about that, but might be interesting for some of you. Kraft Heinz call options, McKesson Corp call options, Tesla puts. So he still has the put options on Tesla. He's still shorting Tesla effectively as of the end of the 2nd quarter of 2021. Some of you might be surprised he didn't close those out when, you know, Tesla shares dropped quite a bit in the 1st and 2nd quarter. So those are still open, or maybe he added new ones to take advantage of a continued drop in Tesla stock. And then Walmart call options, okay? For those of you who follow Ray Dalio and Bridgewater, you know Dalio had a pretty big increase in his Walmart exposure in the 2nd quarter. So it looks like Burry may be getting interested in owning Walmart as well. So anyway, guys, that's the deep dive on Michael Burry's 13F, not just the equity that we get from Dataroma. And I think that's about all we've got for this 13F season. I may do an analysis of some smaller investors. These are kind of the big, well-known value investing crew. But obviously there's a lot of smaller fund managers who manage, you know, 100 million is kind of the cutoff for having to file 13Fs, but somewhere around that 100 million, maybe a couple 100 million. So I might dig into some of those. Let me know in the comments if there's anyone in particular you want me to dig into around that. But yeah, that's it for the big guys. And yeah, big winners. Big winners from this round. Obviously, Alibaba. There were 4 gurus that bought or added into Alibaba. Micron, I'd say Micron and Alibaba were kind of the bullish, kind of the obvious bullish companies from Q2 of 2021, Micron and Alibaba, which I'm happy to see. Those are both very big positions in my portfolio currently. So hopefully that's some indication that those two are poised to do well over the coming decade, hopefully more. But that's it, guys. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.